are here to learn and discuss Ohm's law. There's many different types of ways to find Ohm's law, but today we're going to go over the basics. First thing that you need to know is what each letter represents. The letter E, in this case, represents voltage. The letter I represents current, and R is resistance. Now, we're going to use the pie chart, which allows us to find the different voltages, currents, and resistance throughout the circuit. All you do to make the pie chart is you draw a big, giant circle. With a line, or like a T, you put the E on the top, the I on the left-hand side, and the R on the right-hand side. Now, what this means is, in order to find the voltage, which is E, all you need to do is multiply the current and the resistance. Now, to find the current, all you need to do is divide the voltage by the resistance, and vice versa. To find the resistance, all you need to do is divide the voltage by the current. And that's the basic way to find Ohm's law. Alright, as we learned before in Ohm's law, to find the voltage, which is E, you multiply the current by the resistance. To find the current, you divide the voltage by the total resistance. To find the resistance, you divide the voltage by the current. Now we're going to show you how to use Ohm's law in the schematic diagram. The first thing that you do is find the input voltage, which would be equal to E. So E would equal the input voltage, which is 10 volts. So we know that E is equal to 10 volts. Next thing that you do is find the total resistance in the series circuit. Here we have two resistors, a 7,000 ohm resistor and a 3,000 ohm resistor. In a series circuit, you add up the total resistance, so it would be 7,000 plus 3,000, which is 10,000 ohms, or you could also write it as 10k ohms. Now the next thing that we need to find is the current, and as we learned before, current would be the voltage divided by the total resistance. So we have 10 volts divided by 10,000 ohms, which is equal to 1 milliamp, which would also be 0.001 amps. The next diagram in Ohm's law is a power diagram. Here we have three things. This is used to solve for power. P represents power, I is current, and E is voltage. I and E does not change. They stay the same no matter what Ohm's law formula you are using. So here we have the pie diagram. We have power on top, current, and voltage. Now, same thing as before. To find the power, you multiply the current by the voltage. To find current, you divide the power by the voltage. And to find voltage, you divide the power by the current. And that's the next diagram in Ohm's law. Alright, as previously learned, the power pie diagram is the next one in Ohm's law. We have power on top, current, and voltage. Now we're going to use that diagram to solve the series schematic right here. The first thing that we're going to find is E, which is voltage. The voltage input is 10 volts, so we know that E is 10 volts. The next thing that we're going to do is add up the resistance to find the total resistance in the series circuit. Since it's a series circuit, we just add up the resistance, so we have 7,000 ohms and 3,000 ohms, so our total is 10k ohms. The next thing that we're going to do is find the current. And as we know from previously stated, I is equal to the voltage divided by the total resistance. So we have 10 volts divided by 10,000 ohms, and you get 1 milliamp. The next thing that we're going to do is solve for power. Now, power is measured in watts. So what we're going to do, we're going to multiply the current by the voltage to find the power. So we know power is equal to 1 milliamp times 10 volts, which is 0.01 watts, or 10 million watts. And that's how you successfully use the power pie chart to solve a schematic.